Hey y'all, we are back and I have another grant. And with this grant, it is $100,000 and both for-profits and nonprofits are eligible. Before we get into the video, if you got anything of value or if you get anything of value, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. As always, I'm going to start off and quickly share my screen for the Discord. And inside of the Discord, I offer grant links, but links only. I don't do walkthroughs. It's not a lot of communication that happens. I pop in, pop out whenever I have a grant, and then I post it in there. So individuals can either get a head start, or if it's a grant where I'm not going to have the time to fully go through it. So let me do that quickly. So here's the Discord. You will get linked to it through your Patreon. So you have to sign up for the Patreon. I'm going to put the link to that inside of the description as well as in our comments as we chat here. But there's different sections. There are different channels. I have a YouTube channel. So as soon as I finish with a video, I post it here so they don't have to wait for a notification, or if somehow the notification doesn't come through, then I have them separated by which type of grant it is. So we have the for-profits, we have nonprofits, you got state specific, and then international. If you're outside of the US, the grant that we are discussing today is for the US only. So you are not eligible if you are outside of the US. I have a tab where I have just different documents that you can download, business plan, pitch deck, drop shipping if you're interested in that, Airbnb checklist, as well as, inception to launching. This particular document is, I think it's over 50 pages, and it literally just talks you through, not talk you, but you read through and go step by step on starting your own Airbnb. And I'm still trying to get the hang of how I want to do this accelerator channel, but essentially here, if it's like cohorts, leadership programs, etc. And then in the general tab, we just have, if there's free business books, if there's workshops, things like that. There is a workshop that is posted in here somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but with that one, it actually teaches you how to launch a business, not launch a business, I'm sorry, to launch an online program, which in fact is a business. So if you have an idea and you're like, you know what, I want to do a class, there's a link inside of the Patreon, and it's actually a free, I think it's a 1-week program where they show you how to set up, market, and then launch your course. I also offer consultation services if individuals are interested in that. I'll put my website in the chat as well. And then I want to remind everyone that there is a fraudulent email that has been created. It's moneytime with Ebony Dion ESQ at Gmail, which I don't have a Gmail account. I always put my email in the description box. I also put it in the chat. I don't charge you $500 to apply for grants. I don't ask you for confidential information. And this goes back to me always saying to do your due diligence on anybody, anything, because you just never know who's out to scam. And unfortunately, in this digital age, it's much easier to scam, and anybody can sit behind a computer and talk very nice to you and make you feel comfortable with them, and then they run off with your money. This person, the grammar, because I had someone that was going back and forth with them and sent me the information, the grammar is not there. The request doesn't really make any sense. It should hit a red flag as soon as they email you, and you have to hit a response to them. And what they're doing is they're going through the comments. If someone asks a question, they'll respond and say, oh, email her directly at this email address that is not monitored by myself. So put this stuff in here, and then we are going to go into the grant. Hi, my credit university. Can you clarify what you're asking for? Are you asking for me to just give you access to grants or to assist with applying for the grant? And then I'm putting my website in the chat now. And then I just put the Patreon in there as well. So that should get, I hope that answers your question. But when it comes to the Patreon, it is a subscription. So you cancel at any time. It's similar to, if you have Netflix, it's $20 a month. And then I just throw grants in there. I do put nonprofit grants in there as well. On my website, there's different, options to select for coaching. There's one that's Pick My Brain, where essentially whatever it is that you need assistance with. And then there's other ones where it's specific to your business and where you're trying to go or grow with that business. I am going to get my website modified, and I'm going to add a little bit more about grants, because I do get a lot of questions to assist with applying for grants. When I first started the channel, I was adamant that I was not writing any grants. However, I might start doing that service. It just kind of depends on, I guess, the ask. And if it becomes too much with me balancing both YouTube and I do still have a full-time job. So as far as this grant, like I said, it's for-profits and nonprofits. So for-profits, this is going to be a pretty easy one to apply to, as well as nonprofits, for-profits. Because with nonprofits, you normally got to have like programming and, the numbers, the impacts, all of that. This is going to be similar to the realm of applying for a nonprofit. You just have a different status in this particular application. Now, you have to be 18 years or older in the United States. They are going to do a background check, and then you must have a public Instagram account, but it's actually tied to Brooklyn Museum, and they're partnering a little bit with Instagram, the way the terms say it. So it's not sponsored per se by Instagram. It's the Brooklyn Museum that is going to be your direct contact in order to apply for this grant. Also, I need to add that there is a small business grant playlist on the channel, and I just posted a grant 3 days ago, and it's another $100,000 grant. You need to go and apply for it. If you wanted to get into the Airbnb business, this is going to be your best opportunity if you don't have the capital to start up. So if you can go look at that playlist and look at that video as well, if this one doesn't work for you. This grant is going to be for both artists and designers. One second with this information. The drop shipping. So if you're interested in drop shipping, yes, the Patreon, which I've discussed at the beginning, it is subscription based. It is a monthly fee. You cancel at any time. The fee is $20 per month. And then, you go in there, there's a bunch of grants. I post different resources, and you can also ask questions in there as well. If you get in there and you decide, this isn't for me, you can cancel, and then you won't be charged the next month. So it's pretty simple. It's not one of those scenarios where I sign up and then they put you in this loop of trying to, unsubscribe. So again, if you get any value, go over to the Patreon. If you get in there and you're not, cancel it. It's a business expense anyways. I hope that answers your question. Now, back to the grant. Designer, so you can be a graphic designer, fashion designer, you can be an architect, any type of design work is applicable to apply for this grant. Your business must be 50% led / owned by someone that identifies as Black. What that means is you can have a diverse team, but leadership has to be 50% someone or people, right? If you have 2 people, it can be someone. If you have 3, then you got to have multiples that identify as Black. When you're thinking about a nonprofit, they're looking at your board, and then they're looking at your executive team that's inside of that nonprofit. So if your board is 50% individuals that identify as Black, or your executive team, 50% identify as Black. So keep that in mind. There's 2 different categories. There's going to be emerging visionaries, and then there's going to be small business visionaries. Let me make sure I said that term right. Emerging. So with the emerging visionaries, you must be between the ages of 18 and 35. And this is for individuals. So you do not have to have a business if you are considered an emerging visionary. And what determines that is your age. So if you were born, here's the dates: June 15th, 1987 through July 17th, 2004. So if you're in that category, you can apply as an individual. If you apply as an individual, but you do not apply as a business, you're eligible for $30,000 as a grant opportunity. If you apply as a business or a nonprofit, you're eligible for that $100,000. And then also you get 1 year of mentorship where somebody's going to do monthly check-ins and make sure that everything is going good with that. I will also add that they do have the options to do background checks. I always read the terms and see if that is in there. And I say that because if you think that there's something in your background that might affect you applying, then I recommend not applying. However, if not, go ahead and apply. Also, whoever applies on behalf of the business or nonprofit must be someone that self-identifies as a person of color. So you can't have a diverse team and then someone that doesn't identify as Black is submitting the application, because you're going to put your personal information or business information inside of that application. The deadline is July 29th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. So with this one, I feel like you got a bunch of days to get in what they're asking for. And then the biggest thing that they're going to be asking for, they ask for, and it has to be in a PDF format, at least 7 examples of your work. It can be no more than 20 pages long, and it can be no larger than 10 megabytes. And when they're talking about the megabytes, it's because within these 7 examples, you can provide links to videos. So if you got, a video somewhere that you want to put the link in, that does, count towards your 10 megabytes. So definitely make sure that not only are you meeting the page requirements, but the megabyte requirement as well. Also, they're going to have all rights to images provided, which is typical in a grant. And then also they have a right to use the imagery for marketing, which, as I've always said, that's free exposure, right? So because if they are advertising you, they're advertising you in a positive light. They're not advertising you to the public as something negative. So I don't think that should be a problem. However, if you as an artist, you don't want to give away those types of rights and you don't want them to be able to essentially post your content however they think feasible, then I wouldn't apply for this as well, because I do know some artists are very specific in how you can use their images, how you can use their projects, so if that is you, I would not apply for this, because even if you're not selected, by you submitting it, they now have access. So they might want to do a video of, the top 10 applicants or whatever. I have no idea, but definitely keep that in mind. Also, whatever you submit, you need to make sure that you have the rights to submit. So if I submit a community photo and if I'm in the photo and 5 other community members are in that photo, you need to have their rights released to you. So some type of photo release or some type of regular release signed by these individuals, because what can happen is, let's say you blow up, or let's say this is posted before you get the grants and there's a lot of traction that now comes. Individuals will circle back and say, but for me being in that photo or me being in that project, you would not have made as much money as you made. And now you've made money off of my likeness. And now they're going to want to sue you, even though they took the picture, they were okay taking the picture, they're in a public forum, there's a possibility that it might be used. So you definitely need to make sure whatever you're submitting, you get whatever release is necessary, so they will be able to use it, because they're going to assume that you've already done that. And then if a lawsuit then comes back around, number one, you're probably going to lose the grant or have to give it back. Furthermore, they're probably going to end up getting sued. So they're going to have to use their resources to defend. So definitely think about that. And then also, as far as the money goes, for up to 5 years afterwards, they can reach out to you and say, we want documented proof of what you did with the funds. So this isn't like the last grant that I posted, which is the one where you can work with Airbnb. There's 3 different phases and you get 3 chunks of money. They're giving you your money up front. However, you're obligated to them for a minimum of 5 years. So keep that in mind. So keep your receipts, keep whatever evidence that you would need as documented proof that the funds were used for the intended purpose. Also, with the funds, it's kind of broad on what you can use them for. And I want to read this because when I read it, that's why I say the funds are unrestricted. You can use the funds for running or growing your business, education, or procuring tools or resources. When I think about education, I think about if I want to go to a conference, if I want to do some workshops. So there's a broad way of identifying ways to run your business or grow your business, right? Growing your business could be hiring staff. Running your business could get better systems in place, whether it's a POS system that you might need if you're a fashion designer and now you are opening a boutique. So definitely, I think this grant is way more flexible than some of the other grants that we have talked about where you couldn't even be a landlord and get the grant. One of the funniest things, so they have a bunch of restrictions, right? So they have restrictions for, and I got the whole list that I read, okay? You know, tobacco, drugs, all of the stuff that's normal, right? Illegal activity. But one of the things they mentioned was cosmetic surgery or similar procedures, right? So when I saw that, I laughed because like BBLs are the thing and Botox, right? And I started thinking like, why would they put that there? What I started to think about is if you're in the fashion industry, appearance matters because if I'm going to purchase from a fashion designer or if I'm going to purchase from anyone in the fashion industry, you have this expectation that they're going to look a certain way. So someone could have said, I use the funds to get Botox, or I use the funds to get lipo because I needed to look a certain way in order to attract consumers and customers. So that's my thoughts. I don't know what they were thinking, but most of the times when things like that are added, it's because somebody has done it before. So somebody has used the funds for cosmetic surgery, and now they have to put that as an exclusion of what you can use the funds for. Now, the number of winners, there's going to be 5 winners per each category. So you're going to have 5 people that's going to get $30,000. You're going to get 5 people, businesses. So 5 people, $30,000. 5 businesses is going to get $100,000. So 10 total winners, which is a lot. It totals to, according to the documents, I didn't add it up, 650. That's not right because that's 500,000. That number is not correct that they have on the front page. Now that I just added up in my head, so I'm not even going to repeat it. I think that is, and it's tax deductible. So make sure, as we always talk about, that you are paying your taxes, that you are setting aside the amount for taxes, that you have an accountant or CPA or somebody that can assist you when it comes time to figure out how much in taxes or what is your tax bracket and what does that percentage look like. You must have a minimum of 3 employees if you're applying as a business or nonprofit, and it excludes interns, anybody working for free, okay, freelancers, etc. They have to be an employee, no less than 3, including yourself, no more than 25. So 3 to 25 is the number for the employees. Your business must be in good standing and you must show proof of your business status. And then you must not have been formed 10 years prior to June 28th, 2022. So that's June of 2012. Anything before that, you will not be eligible to apply. When you're thinking about good standing, make sure you get the certification from your Secretary of State's office, because a lot of companies, especially if you're a newbie and you're not really keeping up on things, you could potentially be administratively dissolved and don't know that, because a lot of states, I don't know which ones, I know Missouri for sure, you got to have a physical address. And if you don't have a physical address and they try to reach out to you randomly and they cannot get in contact with you, and they give you, some type of time period to change your address, then you will get administratively dissolved, meaning the Secretary of State has dissolved your business. And now when you go and try to get the certificate of good standing, you're not able to get it. So please make sure you check that. It's a quick search on most state websites. Do that before you start applying. And if there's something that you need to do in order to get back into good standing, maybe, you can get it done by the 29th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. I think also you must provide, when you do your upload, they want a description of the work that you're uploading. So what is it? Tell us about it. Your role and responsibility associated with that work. So where do you fit in, right? Because if you're applying, you must be in a leadership position and you identify as Black. So they want to make sure that you are assisting with the day-to-day operations. And then also making sure you have rights to upload those images. I think we have all of that. Remember, Instagram account must be public. And then you also got to have a Google account, because it is a Google Doc that you're going to be applying through. The website is bit.ly. So bit.ly/Black Visionaries. I'm also going to put that inside of the comments so you can have that. But then that will take you to the Google Drive, or Google Doc rather, for you to complete. But I want to make sure, you will be notified. When will they tell you that you won? November or December of this year. They don't say a date. They don't say a time. They don't even tell you how long you have to respond to them, but they are going to notify you via email. So as I said in the previous video, I highly, highly, highly recommend creating either an email address that you check religiously, right? So you don't need to worry about it. Or if you have an email address where you only apply for grants from that email account. So then when you get an email in, more likely than not, is communicating to you about a grant that you applied to, or you might have applied for a grant and now they're just reaching out to tell you about resources. But that email is going to be attached to grants, especially if you apply for a lot of grants. But if you're like, I do 1 or 2 a year, then I wouldn't worry about it. But the last one, if you don't respond within 24 hours, they move on to the next person, and now you've lost out on $100,000. And especially with this one, whereas they're not telling you anything until November, December, with no type of dates attached. So let's quickly pull up the grants, which it is very quick to apply. So as I said, once you go to bit.ly/Black Visionaries, is going to take you to this page. Also, I'm going to put the email address if you have any questions associated with this grant, because it's through Brooklyn Museum, as I said. And also, out of the 5 businesses, 1 business will be selected that is local to Brooklyn, because they want to show their commitment to local businesses. So essentially, there's going to be 4 grants for the masses, as far as if you're a business, and 1 is specifically earmarked for a Brooklyn business. So if you are located in Brooklyn, I would say apply, because you're not going to be competing with the masses. You're going to be competing with your fellow business owners that are located inside of Brooklyn. Their email address is socialmedia@brooklynmuseum.org. But let me just go ahead and put that in there. And then the link to the application is in there. So we've went over the majority of all of this already. The eligibility criteria, we've talked about all of that. So you would pick, either you're going to do emerging, so individual artists and designers, and then visionary small business grants, small businesses and nonprofits, and then design only. So you obviously, an individual artist isn't gonna apply as a small business. So there's that. And then how did you hear about us? My YouTube channel. We're gonna go next. Was your organization founded on or after June 28, 2012? If the answer is no, then unfortunately you're not eligible to apply, because they want businesses that's no older than 10 years. And then how many people does your organization employ? And see, this is what happens if you don't read all the rules, because you got to have a minimum of 3. So if you click 1 to 2, you're not eligible, right? And they're not going to tell you that you're not eligible. So 3 to 25, or if you have 26 or more, you will select that one. Role title, pretty simple. First name, last name, gender, pronouns, email address, legal name of the organization, since I selected business versus individual, and then Instagram handle, mine is Fave Esquire. If applicable, what is the website URL of your small business? Mine is longevitybc.com. Where is it based out of? Based out of St. Louis. And then this is, if you're a Brooklyn-based business, because they are going to pick one for that. How many founders? 1, 2, 3, or if it's another number, I just randomly selected 2. How many identify as Black? I could pick 1 because that would be 50%, or I can pick 2, which is 100%. And then what category? So the categories: visual design, which is going to be your graphic design, illustrator, interactive design; spatial design, architect, interior designer, environments, experiences; fashion design, apparel, accessories, objects, design objects; industrial design, products, devices, and furniture. And then you have to submit a PDF, as we already discussed. And then, like they say, here, which is very important, please make sure your links work. So if you are on your website, check your website religiously, because the thing that would suck is if they go to this link and your website is down. So make sure you've paid whatever your domain fee, your hosting fee, make sure all that is up to date, because I've definitely had that happen to me in the past with my hair company. I thought I was on auto pay and I wasn't. A client reached out to me and said, I'm trying to buy hair and I can't get to the site. I had no clue. So it might have been down for a week, who knows? So definitely make sure all of that is up and running and checking it religiously. If you send them a link that takes them to a website, I would personally say, if you feel comfortable enough, put the link on YouTube, right? YouTube is going to be there. They can go there, versus if something happens with the website. That's my thoughts. If not, just make sure your website is up and running. You can also send them a link to Instagram, because your account should be public anyways. Are you using Instagram to tell compelling stories about your work or connect with your community? If so, please share a link to a real live story or post that best exemplifies this work. If you don't have an Instagram post, create an Instagram post. Even though these things are optional, I always say to myself, why not give them everything that they're asking for? Because let's say by the time they got to this part of my application, they were still like on the fence. And then this reel or live or whatever is what really sparked their interest in order to take me to the next round. So I'm going to use every opportunity possible to provide them with information that could potentially get me a grant, especially $100,000 and even $30,000 to do a 60-second reel, or if I have a live or whatever it is that they're asking for. Brief bio, telling us about your organization. Again, this is your elevator pitch. We've discussed this multiple times in our previous video. So essentially, you don't want to just tell them, I founded my organization on this date and we've been in existence for this many years and, we sell creative designs. No, you need to say, what is the impact that happens in the community and attached to you identifying as a person of color. So it could be, just access, right? So I have a lot of people are doing buses now. So I have a bus where I go to communities that otherwise would not have access, and I let children create their own t-shirts. Or I let prom just passed, right? A few months ago. I drive to communities with prom dresses where individuals can sketch with me and design. So just something creative where you're inside of the community, but also is not just the facts of the business. You have to storytell in order to get the attention of funders, especially when the grants are this large, right? $1,000, you might not have to do as much creative work, but for $100,000, you really have to sell your story. And then, 100 words max. We're back to that brevity. So making sure that you are concise and making sure that you are picking your words, being very intentional in the words that you are using and not having too many filler words that are going to take away from your story. And then a brief statement about the change your organization wants to make in the world through design. You may describe how your work examples advance or capture that vision. So same thing, if you piggyback off of the fact that I have this traveling bus and I go to disadvantaged communities, and then the change that you might want to make is that you want to create the space for more people of color to get into that industry. Because if I come from, which I do, so I come from a disadvantaged community, I'm not thinking about being a fashion designer. I'm not thinking about being a graphic designer, right? Because they're telling you in order to make it, you need to be this, or this. Rarely are they saying, oh, if you be a graphic designer, you'll make it out of, the hood. That conversation isn't happening. And then also just being able to see somebody that looks like you, because again, when we think about fashion, we think about designer labels, and designer labels that we see publicized, marketed, typically isn't people of color. The economy and all of that is definitely shifting, and people of color, people who identify as an individual of color, they are more intentional with how they spend their dollars. They definitely are. Like, people want to support Black businesses. They want to make sure that the dollar stays longer in those communities. However, we're playing catch up. Prior to, the past few years, large designers were not people of color. So I think just changing the story, the narrative, and letting people know that, hey, this is a great career choice. This will allow you to really expand. So think about that. And then write a brief statement telling us about how the grant money and mentorship would help to advance your practice. This we've discussed before, like I put in here, scaling your business, growing capacity for your business. Capacity and scaling, it doesn't always have to be hiring a new employee. It could be marketing, right? Let's say you have an Instagram account, but you're not really good at social media marketing. So you want to get you an independent contractor versus having somebody that's a W-2 that's going to assist you with marketing. It could be even with a mentor, just having that institutional knowledge or having that experience from somebody else and being able to bounce ideas off of someone that has a little bit more advanced knowledge or experience than you have, which, as I've already said, mentorships are invaluable when it comes to the dollar, because you can give me $100,000, but if I don't have the resources or the wherewithal to know what to do with it, that I'm not going to be successful. Versus if I have a mentor that is holding my hand with $10,000, I can probably turn that $10,000 into $1 million, versus I've squandered the $100,000 trying to figure out how to make $1 million. And now I don't have the resources to get back to the track of making $1 million. Here, making sure that you understand it to be shared with Brooklyn Museum and Instagram, which we talked about. You kind of got to agree to that if you want to apply for the grant. If not, then you don't have to apply. And this is pretty much it. So here, informing them that you're not a government official. So either you are, if you're related to one, no. And then if you have identified, then you need to say, either your title or the person that you're related to. And this is it. So as I said, this application is pretty simple. What's going to be, in my opinion, the heaviest lift is putting together that PDF of the different examples that they're asking for. 7, but you can have 20 pages, as well as making sure that it is 10 megabytes. So if you got anything of value out of this video, because we're at the end, if you can share, comment, all of that goodness, I'm going to make sure that there aren't any comments back to. I know, Suhini, I'm trying to get these grants out because they are sitting, and I'm trying to get it before the deadline. I think I got 2 more left that we need to go through. But if there is not any questions, how long you have to be in business? You have to be in business no more than 10 years. So they didn't say a minimum, but if you are an emerging visionary, you don't even have to be in business per se. You can be an individual, so you don't have to have a business, but you have to be between the ages of 18 and 35. And the dates again for that are June 15th, 1987 through July 17th, 2004 is the requirement for that. So I didn't see a minimum as far as how long you have to be in business. Well, I don't see any more questions. So you all enjoy your weekend. We have the weekend finally. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for watching. I am going to be posting a couple more grants next week. So stay tuned and I will see you all next time.